You have a dedicated PlayStation room. That's nice. I like that.
Basically,
That's an impressive collection of PS2 games.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I didn't realize quite how many I had, but
like 6 Tony Hawks I saw, and made like 4 Ratchet and Clank. I forget what else.
If you actually, let me just open up Delicious Library, which I've got.
Oh, you still use that?
Yeah, I didn't. I thought it had been abandoned, but it's still been updated.
No, it is. I'm surprised that you'd never hear about it anymore. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I just you never hear anything about it anymore.
No, I'm surprised there hasn't been like some kind of alternative to it. But yeah, I mean, because I was looking for an alternative because I assumed it had been abandoned because I bought it maybe 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, that's the app that started a whole movement, you know?
God, yeah, I know. Tony Hawk, total, I have across all different platforms. I've got 19 Tony Hawk's games.
Wow.
Because I think for PS2 there's 8, I think. Let me just have a look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so there's 8 games just for the PS2. And then there's a couple for the Wii that I've got, which is the one with the skateboard attachment. It's got an actual skateboard controller, which is really hard to use.
I bet.
And then I've got some PlayStation 1 versions, and I've got the new one for Xbox One as well.
Wow.
And then a couple for cool. 360.
You know, one of the guys who worked on that app was one of the main designers of iOS 1.0.
Oh, really?
When it was still iPhone, I guess the iPhone OS. It was, Mike Mattis is a designer who ended up eventually at Facebook after doing, he's done a ton of stuff. He was at Nest, he was at Apple. At Apple, he did the battery, some of the lock screens, I think some of Maps, Photo Booth, a whole bunch of different UI elements and a bunch of different apps. And then he went and did Pushpop Press, which did that. Do you remember that Al Gore book I think it's called Our Choice, that became like an interactive book, and it was on iOS. It was really groundbreaking for the animations and the UI at the time, and then it immediately got bought up by Facebook, and they went in and did that paper app.
Okay.
Which is that alternative Facebook app, you know?
Which they've now pulled that, I think. They
just abandoned it, and Mattis left last December, so it's not too surprising. They had like a Skunkworks kind of kind of what Microsoft is doing with some of their keyboards and other software. They had their own little, I don't know, small little startup within Facebook that was doing mobile experimentation and stuff like that.
Huh. Well, there you go.
Yeah, so that's the story. If you, I put some of it in. What did I write about? I think maybe I wrote about the abandonment of paper on Mac Stories, and I went into a little bit of the background. But anyway, really brilliant designer.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I was amazed that Delicious Library is still kind of. I checked the update log because I was thinking it doesn't seem like I haven't heard anyone talk about it for years now. But it's been updated within the last kind of 6 months or so to work with El Capitan. So and I've used it. I've used the mobile app, which still works for scanning barcodes. So yeah, I'm going to stick with that for now.
The guy who runs that is Will Shipley. I ran into his Lotus in San Francisco one time. I think he has a bright orange Lotus that says Shipley on it.
Nice.
On the license plate.
Should we get into it?
Yeah. What do we? Let's see what we got here.
Yes, we've got one, probably the last bit of Dropbox paper follow-up that we'll have, because I guess we're probably going to switch maybe to Notes or something and when we've both got iOS 10, but they've actually made some updates to Dropbox paper, so it will now tell you in the Dropbox app when somebody has shared a document with you. I haven't actually seen any other updates from them, but yeah, you get the little notification in the activity feed that somebody shared a document with you, which is, at least a start towards it being a little bit better than it was.
Yeah, it's a start, but they still send you the email, which is the part that I find the most annoying.
Oh yeah, the email is still really, really annoying. But
Yeah, no, we should definitely try Notes because, and I'm here to kind of twist your arm into trying out the beta of iOS 10 because I've tested it out a couple of times now with Federico and one other person, and it's gotten a lot better in the most recent beta. It's not quite like when you're in a Google Doc. You know, when you're in a Google Doc, you can actually see each character being typed by someone.
yeah.
You don't get that. It's like little chunks pop in. It's like maybe you're typing real fast and you type 3 or 4 words and then it pops in and then I do something and it pops in. But I don't even know that and maybe that's not quite as good an interaction as seeing character by character, but you and I hardly ever type in the same document at the same time anyway, so I don't think it would really matter one way or the other for us.
No, I think the only time we do that is right before we're going to record the show, and we're already talking anyway, so it's not really a massive problem.
Yeah, no. So anyway, I do think the notes sharing is pretty good. I did have one problem. Let's see, was it? I'm trying to remember if it was a last beta. It's not this one. Last beta, I had a couple of situations where where I was testing it out with Federico, and it crashed. And then every time I tried to open Notes, it would just crash on launch. And I'd have to reboot my phone in order to get it to work again. But that has seemed to have been cleared up with the latest beta.
Yeah, you're not going to convince me to go on the beta, John. I'm going to wait.
It's boy, I was kind of semi-regretting it when I did beta 2 because there were a lot of UI bugs, especially like the most annoying one was my phone would get stuck in landscape mode every now and then, regardless of whether I had, rotation lock on or not. And it's just really a pain in the butt to have that happen while you're trying to use your phone and then having to reboot it to get out of that. But that seems to have gone away, and a lot of the other sort of annoying things have gone away. So it's fairly solid now.
Perfect. Eye roll emoji. It's
it won
emoji of the year.
It won a major award, as they would say on A Christmas Story. Yeah, that's good because that's my emoji more so than you have your own emoji. You've co-opted the thinking face, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That's you. I mean, I will admit to grabbing it myself once in a while, but I like the eye roll emoji a lot.
Yeah, I think. I haven't got any actual statistics on this, but I think the thinking face is obviously the number one that I use. Then eye roll emoji, and then the smirking face. And I think once the new emoji come out, it's going to be the shrug. The shrug emoji. Oh yeah, is coming.
Yeah, the shrug will be big. I was explaining to somebody the other day what Jeremy Burge's job is, right? And I said I just want to be him because he gets to invent a holiday, which is World Emoji Day, and he gets to help pick which of these emoji get on the list of emoji, and I just think it's really cool.
It is very cool,
but it's very hard to explain to somebody that's actually a thing that he does.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that is his full-time job is just emoji. I'm imagining he falls asleep and just sees emojis all night long.
I see he's on television all the time. He's on the BBC a lot, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, he lives in London, so I guess it's fairly easy for him to get to the studios as well and go in. And I mean, he is, of anybody, I guess he's the leading expert in emojis.
Yeah, I don't know that there's room in the world for 2 people, but if there is, I might apply for the job.
Yeah, I think you could give him a run for his money, John.
I'll leave it to Jeremy. He's a good guy. He can keep the job.
So, talking of arbitrary days that get invented by people and companies, we're going to talk a little bit about Prime Day because this is kind of it's kind of become this undercurrent, this joke that it's like, oh, Prime Day's terrible, and yet me and you both bought stuff. Everybody that I follow bought stuff.
Yeah, no, people do buy things, and I still think it's kind of terrible because you go there, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's just page after page of junk.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if there's something specific that you need, and it happens to be one of the things on sale, then it's a good deal.
Yeah, definitely. So I got Grand Theft Auto 5 for the PS4, which was something I'd been waiting for, and for whatever reason that game just doesn't drop in price, and it was down to I think £25 on Prime Day, so I picked that up. I got a present for Jess's birthday, which I'm not going to say in case she hears or listens to the show, and 168 packets of cat food.
That's for you, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it's my favourite meal.
I saw. Well, see, I don't have cats, so I didn't know that was like a reasonable amount of cat food. When I saw you bought that amount of cat food, I thought you had gone off the reservation.
No, so I mean, we've got 2 cats as well, so but that'll probably last us like 2 months or something, maybe 3 months. And it was it was a really good price. It was like half price or something. And I got it on Prime Now because why not?
Yeah, no.
and funnily enough, it was the same driver that the day before I'd ordered cat litter because we'd run out and I couldn't be bothered to leave the house, so I ordered that on Prime Now as well.
And he asked if you're becoming a cat lady. It didn't come in 168 packages, did it?
No. It was just 2 boxes.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I got a crock pot, a slow cooker.
Sure.
Because we had one and it broke a few months ago and we just hadn't bothered to replace it, and they happened to have one that was on sale. And a grill cover because mine is wearing out. Now, I didn't pick out either one of these things. I basically told Jennifer that it was Prime Day, and if she saw anything we needed, go for it. But because I couldn't tolerate the page after page of stuff that I didn't, junk, and I didn't really know what we needed. So, but she did, of course. So
yeah,
we're all set.
I think that's where this kind of almost fake anger comes from about Prime Day. Oh, it's terrible. There's so much garbage, and there is a lot of crap on there, but if it's the crap that you want, it's not crap. Like, I think because they've got so much stuff, and, they've got like 150 pages of deals, it's bound to be a lot of stuff that you don't need. But if you know what you're looking for, specific items, then it's fine. I mean, I get pretty good discounts on Amazon all the time anyway. I don't feel like Prime Day felt particularly different to any other day on Amazon.
Yeah, I guess. To me, it was like, see all deals, and you look, and it's like a bunch of junky iPhone cases and other stuff that was just kind of irrelevant to me. I don't know. I always feel like they're trying to pull something on me it's like a giant garage sale. It's like, well, we've got a bunch of stuff that we can't sell, so here it is, put it in your house and pay us money for it. I have a little bit that's kind of my attitude towards it, but you're right. I mean, if it's something you need, it's something you need. And if you can get a good deal, all the better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what really we're not actually going to spend half an hour talking about Prime Day or anything, but what really struck me about it was, as I say, I used Prime Now the day before, and then on Prime Day as well once for cat litter and then once for cat food. Obviously, I should have done those in the same order, but I didn't realise. But the thing that struck me was how much of a blow Prime Now is going to be to physical retailers, like brick and mortar stores, because there's a pet store pretty close to my house, maybe a 5-minute drive. I could have gone there, picked up the stuff and be done, or I can go on Prime Now, pick a delivery slot, and it just gets delivered to me, and I haven't got to think about it.
Yeah, have you found a lot of things you need on Prime Now, because it's not as prevalent here?
Yeah, I think it really depends what warehouse you've got quite close to you, because if I look what's available near my parents' house, they live quite a way away from me, so they're in a different warehouse. So they're assigned to a different warehouse, and they've got a lot of stuff that I don't have access to on Prime Now, and kind of vice versa. So I guess it really depends what the warehouse near you has got.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been quite lucky with the stuff that we needed, like cat litter and cat food. That's just something they seem to have all the time. When I got my PS4, they had that in stock. So yeah, they've been pretty good in terms of what they do and don't have in stock. I think they had the Grand Theft Auto as well when I tried to buy that, but I think I wanted some add-on items that they didn't have.
Yeah, it's interesting here because when I'm in downtown Chicago, they tend to have Prime Now seems more limited, which is kind of counterintuitive than in the suburbs, because I think it's just harder for them to get around in the city. So you can get things like video games and last-minute gift type items, that sort of thing, but not a real wide variety. So if I'm looking for something, I can't find it on Prime. I found that I can't find it on Prime Now, but if I go to the regular Amazon, sometimes I can get it the same day in the suburbs, not on Prime Now, without actually even paying extra, which is really odd to me. the two things seem to be operated completely independently of one another, and it feels like in the suburbs, the regular Amazon service is getting better and faster for no additional money if you're a Prime member, and the Prime Now in downtown Chicago is getting better, but it's still in its infancy because it didn't really come here till all that long ago. Maybe, I don't know, I think it's been less than a year.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way that the two are definitely, they're treated like two different companies almost. Like if you didn't know any better,
Right.
you would never know that they were the same company. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not really sure what their plan is. I mean, in the US, it's kind of different anyway, because like generally it's 2-day delivery for you, right? For Prime, that's
Right.
that's the deal. Whereas in the UK, it's next day delivery on everything that's on Prime. So we're already up to a day, that only a day we have to wait, and then Prime Now, as I say, I mean, it's been pretty good for the kind of stuff that I would need, like right now, right this second. But yeah, I think if it gets a little bit better, or a lot better, if they can increase the capacity of their warehouses, or whatever it is. I mean, for me, this is just going to kind of stop me from going to physical stores for a while, because I just don't, I don't get any advantage from going out to, for example, the pet shop to buy cat food when I can get exactly the same cat food delivered to my house and I haven't got to leave.
Yeah, you may never leave the house again.
Oh, that's the dream, John. That's the dream.
It is the dream. I was out running errands yesterday, and it was awful. It was like screaming children and long lines and pharmacies that didn't have things ready for me on time. It was. I thought to myself, well, this is why I don't leave the house.
Yeah, that is what the outside is like.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, anything else on Prime Now?
No, not really. I actually have never used it myself because I've never found anything I needed on it. So I guess our experiences have been a little bit different, but hopefully it will improve in my area soon.
Yeah. Planet of the Apps.
Yeah, what do you think about this? This thing is weird.
I wrote this in the show notes, but who the hell is this for? Who is going to watch this?
I think I have a feeling that if I watch it, it'll make me angry, so I probably won't watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to watch it either. So I think we can glean from that it's not really for developers or people who are kind of in the know of what this this kind of subset of the industry is like. And I'm not sure I can see that the general public are going to be particularly attracted to this show.
Yeah, it strikes me that it's going to be a little bit like Shark Tank, maybe. I think there's a similar show in the UK. I forget the name
Dragon's
of it.
Den, it's called in the UK.
Right. Yeah, something like that, which is all very contrived. I mean, if you really wanted to have a reality show about developers, you just see somebody typing into a text editor for hours on end and swearing when they couldn't build their app.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced I know who this is for, or if anybody's really winning at the end. There's a really good discussion on episode 178 of ATP. They go into a lot more detail of what the winner's going to get and who this might appeal to, and whether the winner is really winning anything. But we'll put that in the show notes, because I think those guys, they went pretty in depth with it. But yeah, in terms of watching it, I just can't see that this is going to be something that I'm going to bother watching.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Maybe it'll be entertaining. But I recorded something for the Mac Stories Telegram channel about it maybe 10 days ago or so. And the thing that bugs me about it more than anything is kind of this VC angle. And this, it seems, at least from the description, which is admittedly fairly high level and sketchy. It's hard to know exactly what the show is going to be like. But it does seem to be kind of that, to perpetuate that myth that all you have to do is build an app and you'll be a millionaire, which is very, very far from the truth. And I do worry that this is just going to, I don't know. I just think it's the wrong message to send the general public.
Yeah, and I think in the start of the show as well, the auditions kind of say you need to have a beta or a prototype of some kind done by kind of October. So it sounds to me like the TV show is kind of going to miss that huge chunk of the beginning of building a new product and getting it to some kind of prototyping stage, which, I've never done an app, but, even for, some kind of web services that we do at work, that's going to be a good couple of months' work at least.
Yeah, well, I assume that that's not what it's going to be about, that it's going to be more about the marketing and more about the selling and more about the investment and that kind of thing. And the idea more than the actual app itself. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm not very excited about it. I think it's weird that Apple's involved. I wonder whether this was one of two things, whether they saw an opportunity to use it as kind of a way to market the App Store, or whether they wanted to have their finger in it to avoid it being portrayed in a way that they didn't like. Hard to know, but it doesn't excite me at all.
No, me neither.
So have you been playing Pokemon Go? Because I've been playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah, so I played it. Whenever it got released, I guess it was kind of middle of last week or the week before. I guess it's been out nearly 2 weeks now in the UK, and I was actually working from home because I was ill. But yeah, so I downloaded it. Well, the first thing I did was text Mike to tell him it was available because I know he'd been waiting because he didn't want to get it from the US store. And I downloaded it, and I got, I guess probably the first run experience for most people is the same. You get quite a lot of opportunities to catch a lot of Pokemon. I mean, I basically didn't leave the house and was able to catch maybe 10 or 15 Pokemon within, a few hours. I guess maybe it throws a few more at you when you first start. And then,
yeah, maybe.
I started feeling a bit better, and, when I was out and about, I'd catch a few. But kind of after about a week, so I guess, maybe about 5 or 6 days ago, I was just a bit like, I'm kind of a bit fed up of it already. The app's kind of buggy, and it crashes sometimes when you catch a Pokemon and the ball will just sit there forever and you have to force quit the app, and there's not really any online component to it per se, like we can't play together, and there's no trading or anything like that. I'm sure these things are coming, but yeah, I'm just kind of a bit bored of it at this point.
Yeah, well, they have a big problem, which is the app is no good. It's interesting because it shows that even with a buggy, kind of broken, not fully thought out app, you can still become kind of the number one app in the world. I mean, I think Apple just told Loop last week that it had more downloads in the first week than any other app ever, which is remarkable when you realize that first week it was only available in Australia, New Zealand, and the US. Big markets, but still, I mean, most of the world wasn't covered until weeks later. So I don't know. I mean, I guess like you, I'm playing a lot less. I like it. My office downtown is a Pokestop, and people are always setting up lures so I can sit at my desk and play Pokemon if I want to. Don't tell anybody. But even that, I haven't really done in at least a week because it's the app itself takes forever to load sometimes. The servers tend to go down. It's funny in Chicago. It's when you would expect. On the way into work, the servers are down. At lunchtime, the servers are down. And on the way home at night, the servers are down. And those are the times I might play. And I usually can't, so I just don't bother even trying anymore.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other problems as well. Like the battery usage is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's querying the server to, presumably get data for where they're going to randomly generate Pokemon and, the gym data and stuff like that. But the battery usage is just completely off the charts. And it's great for me. I can charge my phone at work. So if I wanted to play it, on the way to work or, when I'm walking across or whatever, I can charge my phone at work. But for most people, they don't necessarily have that option. And if I'm out and about all day, I've been running some errands this morning, and I was playing while I was waiting outside one of the shops for Jess, and it's already killed my battery to like 50%.
Yeah,
we're only talking about a few hours out of the house.
Right, it's kind of a double whammy because it's built on the Unity engine, and my experience playing Unity-based iOS games is that they're all battery hogs. And so you've got that to start with, and then on top of that, you have the fact that you're right. I mean, it's pinging the server constantly, and because the servers have been under so much stress, my guess is it's making a lot more requests than it would if they weren't under such load.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't want to sound like I'm down on it. Like I think it's great if people are enjoying it, then brilliant. And it's fascinating to watch just how popular it's been. I mean, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. One, like the other morning, this is not good, but I nearly got hit by a car because the woman driving was playing Pokemon. This was in slow moving traffic. It was kind of okay. It wasn't particularly dangerous, but as I walked past her car after she nearly hit me, I saw that she was playing Pokemon, which is just ridiculous. Like, she clearly should be on her phone anyway. But and the second one, there's a pub near me, and they had a Pokemon lure party last night, between 7 and 11 or whatever. Big posters out the front in the windows. Come along and catch Pokemon with us, and we know they're going to pay for. They're obviously going to just do the in-app purchase and set lures and stuff so that more Pokemon come. And this is the pub that it is. It's kind of, it's not the kind of pub I'd expect to be doing this kind of stuff, but it's really kind of integrated into every possible kind of part of life. Like, everybody knows what Pokemon is. Like, the game, everyone's like, oh, do you play it? And it really is fascinating to watch just how popular it's been.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that going on here as well, and you've probably seen some of the pictures online of like people jumping out of their cars in Central Park to catch rare Pokemon, which I think is ridiculous. But and I do like the game myself too. I think it's a neat idea, and it's really captured a lot of people's imagination. And I think it has, a lot of levels that you can enjoy it on. You can just catch them if that's all you want to do, just kind of collect them, or you can do the gyms and all that kind of thing. I mean, you don't have to do the combat to enjoy the game, which I think is kind of a smart thing. Nor do you really have to spend money to enjoy it, because I haven't spent a dime, and it's fine. So that's kind of cool. I have seen a lot of businesses starting to do the kind of thing that you mentioned with the pub in your area. And I've never seen a game where I've gotten off in the city in the morning and walked around where I can walk by several people and they're all playing Pokemon, getting off the trains in the morning. Part of that is because it's an outdoor thing, so you wouldn't necessarily see people playing Angry Birds as they walk down the street. But it's really clear when someone's playing Pokemon, because they get so absorbed in it. And I would walk around downtown Chicago at lunchtime and see groups of people just wandering around places like the train stop where there's, a Pokestop or some landmark near my office.
Yeah, the one that really surprised me the day it came out in the UK, so it came out kind of first thing in the morning, and then I went over the shop probably about 9 o'clock at night, and there's a little kind of shop there, and then there's a church right next to it, and the church is a gym, I think. And I walked over, and generally this area, like outside this shop, there's a few benches and stuff. There's a lot of kind of drunk people sat there, and kind of people, I think maybe they're homeless, but they're always kind of hanging around there. It's and so generally, like, other people aren't hanging around there because it doesn't seem particularly safe. And I went over there at 9 o'clock at night, the day the day Pokemon Go came out, and there was probably 20 people stood outside the church, all on their phones, presumably all playing Pokemon Go. And I was just so surprised, because it's generally not a particularly nice area to be hanging around in.
Right.
And yet this game has encouraged people to just be hanging around there, and purely for this one game.
Huh, yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a phenomenon, and it seems to be. I have noticed fewer people. I've not seen as many people doing it in the last week or so around here. I think that initial surge seems to have died down a little bit, but still obviously very popular. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I guess we'll see in a month or 3 months or even 6 months if it's still. I definitely won't be playing it. I think I'm kind of. I'll probably just keep it installed and open it every now and again, but I certainly won't be playing it all the time. But, we'll see how popular it kind of stays.
Yeah, one of the things I had heard and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but that the reason they launched when they did, and not quite necessarily as ready as they maybe could have been, was that they were under deadlines from the people, from the companies that were funding the project, from the VCs, which, it's Google's got a hand in it, Nintendo's got a hand in it. It's I forget, it's the company is in the Pokemon company, because the actual maker of the app is Niantic, I think is how you say it. So kind of interesting, but I think their hand may have been a little forced from a business perspective.
Yeah, it certainly seemed that way. Seemed odd to only launch in the US and I think it was New Zealand and Australia. I think you generally expect to see kind of Canada on that list and the UK, possibly a couple of other European countries, but.
Well, and they have, every time they've launched in another area, it's the problem is started all over again. Because I think the next, they went into Europe, and it was really bad for a few days, and then Canada, I think, came after Europe, and that was a problem. And then they just launched in Japan 2 or 3 days ago, maybe it was. So I think they probably got most. As far as I know, it's not in China yet, but who knows where they're going next with it.
No, I mean, I can imagine of all the places it's going to be popular, like Japan is going to be, that's got to be one of the top countries because, obviously that's the origin of Pokemon.
Right.
But yeah, who knows? I guess they'll probably work out these bugs over time, and I guess that probably the usage numbers will certainly go down over the next few months.
Yeah. Yeah, so did you, changing topics, did you see that I spent a little time in a DeLorean?
I did. I was very jealous.
It was very little time. It was like 1 minute.
What do you mean? You've got all the time in the world. You've got a time machine.
That's true. That's true. I was at MacStock, which is a conference that's held. This is the second one, and it's in the far northwest suburbs of Chicago. So it's far enough away that even though I'm maybe 25 minutes from the city, due westish, and this took me over an hour to get to. So it's pretty far away, but still in the area. So I went, and it was a nice conference. I mean, it's, as far as I can tell, it's a bunch of people who, many of whom are podcasters, and many of whom used to go to Macworld Expo back in the day and missed Macworld Expo, so they started this MacStock thing in the Chicago area. There's maybe 150 people there, and hung out, listened to some talks about getting the most out of various types of software and that sort of thing. And they did a barbecue, and somebody who was at it just happened to have a DeLorean and pulled it up and let everybody sit and pose in it for a while and take some pictures. So that's where that all happened.
I mean, I assume if you own a DeLorean, that's pretty much your life. Wherever you go, people are going to want to sit in your car.
Yeah, it's really low to the ground. It's hard to get in and out of. And those gull wings, it'd be really easy to bang your head on them if you weren't careful.
Yeah, I think I remember I've definitely sat in one probably quite a few years ago now when I was a kid. There's a car museum or a motor museum not far from here. And they've got a DeLorean, they've got the Lotus Esprit from whichever James Bond film it is, the submarine Lotus.
Oh yeah.
They've got loads of TV cars and movie cars. I don't know if they're originals or replicas or whatever, but they've got quite a few there, and sometimes they have days where you go and sit in them and stuff. But I haven't sat in one as an adult. But I can well imagine it's the doors, and it's got to be pretty low to the ground.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, to me, they aren't as rare as they are for most people, because when I was growing up, I grew up in Michigan, not too far from Detroit, where DeLorean was based, and so I actually saw them fairly frequently when I was growing up. For the few, I forget when they came out, sometime in the late '80s, I think.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
no,
Back to the Future came out.
I think it's actually earlier than that.
So maybe a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah. Here I'm Googling. I shouldn't be Googling while we're talking.
That's okay. We'll let
anyway. Yeah. I was looking to see when they came out. Oh, look at this. It was founded in 1975 and ceased operation in 1982. So earlier than I thought.
Okay, so they'd already stopped being made before Back to the Future used it.
By quite a bit, yeah. Huh, interesting. Anyway, yeah, it was kind of fun to do that, and it was interesting just going to the conference because it was a very different. It was a totally different segment of kind of the Mac community than Mac and iOS community that I'm used to hanging out with. A lot of real nice people, and I met a bunch of former writers from Tuwa. You remember Tuwa?
I do.
Yeah, it was like a mini reunion. It was because Brett Terpstra was there, and David Chartier, who used to write for them, and Mike Rose.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so it was nice to get to know. I didn't know I knew David and Brett from before, but I didn't know Mike, and it was nice to get to know him as well as some other people.
Nice. Talking of time travel and Back to the Future, I might as well mention it in this section. I did mean to do it in follow-up, but I forgot to put it in the show notes. I was on the ADR podcast, which is Brian Hamilton's movie podcast, talking about Back to the Future. It's not out as we record, but it will probably be out by the time this is out. If not, I'll make sure to update the show notes when it is out.
Yeah, that seems obviously you're the right guy for that movie for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So Brian kind of said to me, "Do you want to be on the show? Pick a movie." And I mean, it was the obvious choice for me to talk about Back to the Future. So we talked about Back to the Future for probably an hour or so. Not one of these mega long shows where we go twice as long as the movie or anything.
Nice. No, that seems really cool. I definitely will take a look for it and give it a listen.
Yeah, so as I say, if it's not out by the time the show's out, I'll make sure to add it to the show notes once it is out.
Sounds good. I know you don't want to talk about Stranger Things, which is on Netflix now, because you haven't watched it yet, and I won't say anything about it other than you immediately grabbed me about it. It was the opening credits and that the typeface they used for the name of the show, and you know why that is?
I don't.
Because it's the exact same typeface they used for Stephen King novels in the 80s. I'll have to find the tweet, but there was a comparison done, and there was when they were publishing Stephen King's books in the 80s, they had a uniform typeface for his name and giant letters on it, and it was exactly that typeface that they used for Stranger Things. So there's a lot of things in that show that are throwbacks to and references to various pop culture things in the 80s. And that one grabbed me right away, and I knew it kind of gave me a hint as to what this was all going to be about. So it was fun to see that. Yeah,
it's on my list. I will watch it. I'm actually off all this week of work. I've got a holiday, so maybe I'll get around to watching it this week.
Yeah, it's eight 1-hour episodes, so it's doable. I did it in about 4. I just did 2 a day. Got through it in about 4 days.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Is that available in the UK, or is that one that you're gonna have trouble getting?
It's a Netflix show, right?
Yeah, so it should be in the UK,
it'll
right?
definitely be in the UK then.
Okay.
Yeah, they tend to. I think the only time they don't have stuff available is when I know there was some problems with like House of Cards when they released Netflix in other countries because they'd already sold it to networks in that country. But yeah, generally, if it's a Netflix-owned show, it'll be available in the UK as well. So. And if it's not, I'm sure I'll be able to acquire it.
Okay, cool. Won't ask how you do that.
No, I through all legal means, John. That's what I meant.
All right. There's trucks and shows fall off of trucks.
Exactly.
I understand.
So, Twitter verified. This has always been. Even before this and that, so Twitter announced that anybody can apply to become verified now. I mean, just fill in a form and they'll check you out, decide if you should be verified or not, and you become verified. The verified status has always been quite strange because you couldn't approach Twitter to become verified, or certainly that was the official statement. I find that hard to believe that.
Right.
I'm sure that if you were like Tim Cook when he joined Twitter, I'm sure he just phoned Jack up and said, somebody needs to verify me.
Right.
But that was the official stance, which you couldn't do anything about it yourself. You would just either be approached by Twitter or, they would just verify you because they knew it was you or whatever. And I saw kind of, there's obviously some other ways to do it because I saw Dan Morin say that the reason he's verified was because everybody at Macworld became verified at one point, all as a group. So, clearly there was some kind of agreement there with Twitter. But they, they've got this proper form now, which you fill in. You give them some links to websites. You write a bit about why you should be verified, and they'll get back to you and tell you whether you've been verified or not.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the thing about Macworld is, I was just listening to the talk show yesterday, and John Gruber had Glenn Fleischman on, and those guys explained that around the time that happened with Macworld, Twitter was contacting lots of media outlets because the AP and maybe some other outlets, according to these guys, had been had people taking over Twitter accounts and posing as reporters, and it was a real problem from that standpoint. So they went around and kind of verified a bunch of people at big media companies at that point. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that was the explanation they gave. The problem I had with this form that they put out last week was, I think the implication was that by letting anybody send in the form, that they were going to broaden the program, and I think that was at least the assumption of a lot of people made. And I'm not sure that that's actually true or the case. It's also it's just not clear why they're doing this, right? There was no explanation in the materials. I think The Verge assumed that it was to help combat harassment on Twitter, which is a real problem. But there's no evidence to me that that's what it's about, especially since most people who I have seen apply have been roundly rejected since they sent in their forms. I actually sent one in, and I haven't heard one way or the other. So I don't know. They must be struggling with my application.
Well, maybe you might still get verified. Who knows?
I don't know. It's a weird thing, right? They never really explain what the purpose of verified is, or what the goal is, or what the purpose is. Is it anti-harassment? Is it like an exclusive club? Is it a status symbol? What is it exactly meant to accomplish? And to me, it seems like there definitely are tools when you are verified that can help with things like harassment, and maybe they ought to just pull those tools out of verified, so people who are being harassed, who maybe don't care whether they're verified or not, can use them, and then they can make verified wherever they want, whether they want it to be a club of celebrities or whatnot.
Yeah, there's a couple of things you hit there. Yeah, one, if there are tools for people who are verified to deal with harassment, then those tools need to be available to everybody.
Right.
I mean, I'm very lucky. I don't get harassed on Twitter. I don't get a lot of, I don't get abuse or anything like that. But for people who do, if those tools exist, but they only exist if you're in this special verified club, then that's no good.
Right. The only person who harasses you is me, and that's because I love you.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I agree with you completely on that, for sure.
And the second thing, in my mind, I've always seen verified as kind of one of two things. Either, and it's kind of linked in with the harassment and Gamergate stuff, where these people will create fake accounts but pretend to be the person they're trying to harass, so it kind of makes sense to verify the actual person. So it's obvious from, screenshots or retweets and stuff, it's very obvious that is the real person or it's not. And then, as you say, the other one is journalists and people, news writers and bloggers and things like that. It makes sense for those people to be verified as well, because, especially in the Apple world, there are so many people saying, "Oh, can you send me a code? I'm Jason Snell," for example, and they're pretending to be Jason Snell, but actually they're not, and they're just trying to get promo codes from developers and things like that. But Twitter have never really explicitly said what verified is. The impersonation, that makes sense. It makes sense to have verified there. But, there are people who are getting verified or not getting verified that seemingly should fall into that category. I mean, a perfect example this week was Federico didn't get verified, but Mike did. But from my understanding of verified, it seems like, if anything, Federico should be the one who's verified if it's only going to be one of them.
Right. Well, I mean, here's the thing, is that you look at it and you're pulling patterns out that you see, but I don't know that it's necessarily the patterns that Twitter is intending to create, right? I mean, that's the problem, is if you look at it at a really high level, it's easy to understand why Tim Cook is verified, right? Or Kim Kardashian or somebody like that.
Sure.
But then when you get down to a certain level of maybe people better, and that you would view as somewhere on a relatively equal footing in terms of notoriety or something, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I mean, look at the ATP guys. John Syracuse is not verified, but Casey and Marco are, and I don't really see why there is a difference, but there is. I mean, the reason I care about this is, one, I think the harassment tools ought to be peeled out. So I think that that's a problem, and they need to address that. And I don't think Twitter's they've done a better job, maybe, but not a great job by any stretch of the imagination in dealing with that. And two, there is a legitimate reason for wanting to be verified, a business reason, because Twitter is as much a marketing channel as it is a communication channel for a lot of people, whether you're an app developer or a writer or anything. And I think that people coming to Twitter and seeing the verified status, it probably makes a difference for some people that someone's verified versus not verified.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think on a bigger scale, if you imagine, like me and you both have legitimate Twitter accounts, like, it's us, we can prove that, that's fine. If you imagine everybody who can genuinely prove who they are is verified, whether that's through just a website verification like Google Webmaster Tools do, or, even if it's some kind of manual process, however they do it, if you imagine everybody who has a legitimate account is verified, then you can really tackle harassment, because, a lot of the harassment comes from these fake accounts that just get made, and then they get banned and they just create new accounts. But if you could say, fine, I'm just going to block everyone who's not verified in this new imaginary version of what verified is, I mean, that's got to solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, if you've ever used one of those tools that will go in and kind of look at your follower list and see how many of them are kind of real, it's kind of shocking how many are either effectively abandoned accounts or some sort of bot. There's it tends to be a fairly decent percentage, and that would definitely peel those out from the pack.
Yeah, and I mentioned this on Twitter this week, but App.net had a verified kind of status. It wasn't exactly the same as Twitter. It was actually you verified the website that you put in your profile. But that would, put a little tick next to your name, and they'd say, yeah, we verified that this website is owned by this person. Of course, it's not quite the same, but even that would be a step in the right direction to have an automated verified process, as opposed to this, what is clearly manual at this point.
Well, yeah, the other thing they've done is they've asked you, I don't think you mentioned that they ask for a copy of your ID, like a driver's license or a passport or something. It's like, so now thousands of people are uploading JPEGs of their IDs to Twitter. And I'm just waiting for the story to hit the news when those they get hacked and those get leaked to someone.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't have that.
I did.
I wonder if that's a US only thing.
No, I think I remember Federico mentioning that I'm not entirely certain of that. It may not have been. He may not have been asked for it, but I think he was.
I don't know. Maybe I missed that on the form, and maybe that's why they said no. Who knows? Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, I mean, so they did require some form of ID for some people, and it did read as though it was like an optional thing or something that they showed to some people and not others. I'd be interested to know on what basis that was decided.
Yeah, maybe I'll tell you what, I'm going to go back in there after the show and have another look at the form. Maybe I'll just apply again if that upload form exists.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I guess you can do it over and over again every 30 days, which seems weird too. I just feel as though this is something that they've now unleashed, but without any real explanation. And I think it's not going to be very effective until they communicate whatever purpose they have in doing this new verified program.
Yeah, I think that's the real problem, is their wording is so vague, because it just kind of says persons of interest. And I don't know what that means.
Right, and I get that they want wiggle room on that. That makes some, it's a subjective thing. On the other hand, they don't even describe what the purpose of it is and what the goals are. What are they trying to accomplish by opening this up to a wider audience?
Yeah, like, even if it had just a few basic questions like, do you write for, a news organization, or, do you write for a website that is a legitimate business, it actually makes money, or do you make your money from Twitter, that kind of thing. Like, if there was even some kind of solid guidelines there to say yes or no, so that we didn't fill in the form if we didn't fit those categories. But as it stands, like, who decides what a person of interest is?
Right, absolutely. And is it for, well, I mean, we're just kind of I guess we're going around in circles now,
Yeah,
but
I guess we are.
you know, is it a club? Is it a marketing tool? Is it an anti-harassment tool? What is it, right? Or is it all of the above? It's just not clear to me one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks, see who else gets verified and who doesn't, and maybe we'll see some more news from Twitter, although that seems unlikely.
Yeah. So I guess we should close out. We've had a lot of random topics today, and they're in a really. This is a really thoughtful order that these are in. They're in the order in which we put them in the document. Right. Isn't that pretty much how it works?
That is basically what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's if it seems disjointed, it's because it is. The last thing I wanted to mention is that you're going to do Pub Hack again, right?
We are. Yep. Pub Hack.
Could you remind the
back?
Right. Will you remind everybody what Pub Hack is?
Yeah, so we spoke about this on episode 20, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, but I'll go back and pop that episode in the show notes as well. Yeah, so Pub Hack is a hack day that happens in a pub. So, we'll get into teams, and our team is Devs Do Design, which is me, a guy I work with, and a couple of other people that I used to work with, and yeah, we'll sit there in a pub for 8 hours, build something based on a theme. Which previous years has been first world problems or just retro, I think was the last one. So we'll build something crazy. Last time we built a Nokia 3310 in the browser. And yeah, so that's happening in September. It's been a while since the last one, but yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
That's cool. I assume that that they don't tell you what the theme is in advance, right?
No, definitely not. Joe, who runs it, even if you get her really drunk and ask her, she still won't tell you. She's pretty solid on not telling anyone what the theme is, no matter how hard we try.
Good. Yeah, no, that's cool. I saw you did a little like YouTube video. Was that you who did that, or who did that little YouTube video for Devs Do Design?
Yeah, that was me. Because we generally because you present your project at the end of the day, and the last couple we've started kind of doing intro videos to introduce the product of whatever it is that we've built. And I thought it'd be quite fun to just have like a little standard kind of intro. I guess like opening credits almost that we're going to put at the beginning of the video. So yeah, I actually did that in Keynote, and exported it to M4V, I think it exports to, and then just added some sounds in iMovie.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I mean, it's amazing what you can do with Keynote. So people will build full-on prototypes of apps and things in it because a lot of the animations you can create are very similar to what you can accomplish on an iPhone.
Yeah, I actually know a few people that do, like you say, app prototyping or just kind of little interactions for websites and things like that. Yeah, I was amazed I was able actually to achieve as much as I did in Keynote, especially the bit where kind of all the words are out of line and I kind of twist them and move them up and down a little bit. The animation tools actually are really good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can do things like just kind of define where it starts and where it ends, and it'll do the transition in between. It's pretty amazing.
So yeah, we'll pop that video in the show notes as well.
All right. Well, that's good. I'm looking forward to hearing how Pub Hack goes. I know that last year when you did the Nokia phone in the web browser, you ended up doing the sound effects for the phone, right?
I did.
Yeah, we'll see. You're a man of many talents, and I love those little. I think they were vines or something that you posted while you were at the pub.
Yeah, I think somebody was filming me doing the little sounds. Yeah, if you follow at Devs Do Design, that's generally where we'll be. I mean, if you already follow me, you'll probably see a lot of it anyway. But at Devs Do Design, we'll be tweeting from that account in September as well.
Ah, good. Well, I think that's probably all we got for today in that random walk down what you and I were thinking about this week.
8 topics we had this week, John. That's got to be a record, I think.
That's solid. Some of them were pretty short, but these are the things we're thinking about.
Well, there we go. So let's wrap it up. You're on Twitter at JOHNVOORHEES, and I'm on Twitter at RMLewisUK.
Yeah, thanks for listening to Ruminate, everybody. If you have some time, go leave a review because we appreciate that, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
See you later.
Okay, bye-bye.